Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host, direct and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to our show. This is a class where we study the Srimad Bhagavatam, the ancient work on Bhakti-yoga that, this is what we go to when we have some questions on our path. We go through this book of knowledge. It's incredibly wonderful for yoga teachers who really want to understand the practical yoga philosophy and how to put it to life. And what we do here is try to show how these ancient books, even though from millennia ago, how relevant they are in today's world. And it's been Kaustubha and my passion over the last 32 years or so to really take these books to life and apply them to life and have it sort of direct us. And we find such a joyous payoff in that process. I will say, you might, after I make this statement, you might think this guy is so boring, but this is like the best hour of my day. Does that make me sound like a bore? Tom came in this morning, our executive producer, Tom came in this morning. He was like, hey, how was your day yesterday? I was like, well, I studied the Bhagavatam. That was the highlight of my day. Anyway, a little boring perhaps. Oh, how are you, Kaustubha?
Doing good.
Good.
And I wanted to make one redaction or retraction or correction.
You're making a redaction?
I'm making is that the right word? Redaction.
You're making a redaction today?
I'm redacting.
All right, start redacting.
Because I got a message from one of our very nice listeners, Thomas, and
is he on the show or is he another? See, if you're new to the show, we have people listen on Zoom. You can join us at Zoom. I forgot to make this an announcement.
Go ahead and make that announcement.
At Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. See, we have it's Sunday, so they're sleeping in. They sleep in for 15 minutes. We have 55 people this morning. But so you're on live, or sometimes like Tom is here, he's live, and sometimes they're now, due to this podcast thing, so many people, hundreds of people listen, but we call them the others because we have no idea who they are and where they are. So Thomas is one of the others?
Thomas is one of the others, yes.
Okay, others.
And so now I'm trying to remember, I'm looking at our past, the exact one it was, but when we were talking about Christianity.
Yeah, we usually bring in our authority, Alice.
Yes, and so
and
there's
her
another
only claim to being authentic, an authentic educator on Christianity is because she's Italian. That's about it.
Okay, well, I'm Italian too, and I messed up. Although I'm not that Italian. I didn't grow up in Italy. But so I'm trying to remember the number of the episode.
Okay, whatever.
But it was one of them.
What did you say? What did you say wrong?
So we were talking about the Bible, and we're talking about and the question was reconciling Christianity. We had a question from
yes. And you were saying how the Bible is a bunch of letters or a bunch of books compiled, and at one point the
Let's say a group. When you say a bunch, it makes it
a bunch. It was a gang. There was like a street gang organizing the Bible.
Yeah. So, and I mentioned the Council of Nicea as being a time wherein the Bible was compiled, like the books were chosen and placed together. That is not what happened at the Council of Nicea. Wrong.
All right. What happened to the Council of Nicea?
The Council of Nicea was more about like an effort to unite the Christian church of the time. And to get there, if I understand correctly, I don't want to be wrong again.
We got to bring Thomas on the show because I thought at the Council of Nicea they took out all the things about reincarnation.
You see, you've been drinking the Kool-Aid.
I've been drinking. I don't know.
But let me say this. Actually, I want to be more clear because they were, from what I get, it was an effort to unite the Christian church of the time and to get their theology straight. And that's where they came up with the Nicene Creed. Are you familiar with the Nicene Creed?
I'm not familiar with that.
You've probably heard it many times. But it's
the
like
Apostles' Creed.
that may, I'm not sure if that's the same
The
thing.
Apostles' Creed is, I still have that memorized somewhere. We believe in one God, Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, all those seen and unseen.
I believe that is the same thing. I believe that's the Nicene Creed. And so that Nicene Creed came out, you see, after the Emperor Constantine lifted the ban on the Christian church, which I believe was in 325 AD. I did a little research.
Good for you.
Or at least 325 AD, I think, was shortly after that ban was lifted, when they had the Council of Nicea.
Usually I'm dragging the conversation far away. Today, Kaustubha is bringing us down.
I want to get it straight. And this is important stuff, right?
Okay.
And so then they got together, this council, to kind of codify and get it straight. This is our theology. This is what we believe.
Yes.
And so they came out with the Nicene Creed at that time. They settled the idea of the divine nature of who Jesus is in relation to God the Father. And they established holidays, and they established certain canon law in that Nicene. Now that Nicene Creed, about 50 some years later, there was another council, I believe it's called the Council of Constantinople, and they kind of updated that creed. Now, but this is, so I appreciate the correction. Let us not be spreading false information.
Well, you might have already done that, because
I just done it again.
You just called the Apostles' Creed the Nicene Creed, which I'm looking up right now.
Well, it sounded about the same to me. But this is the point that I want to make, and that I was in no way trying to demean the teachings of the Bible or the Christian church, for that matter. But I was bringing that up in the context of, why do we not hear about reincarnation in the Bible and so on? And I'm presenting as a possibility, not as a fact, but as a possibility that those teachings have been altered, whether intentionally or unintentionally, over the course of history. And I'm open to that possibility of that being an explanation. I'm also open to have my mind changed on that if someone could, if someone wanted to present their explanation of why they believe that didn't happen. But there you go. I just want to set this straight. I want to thank Thomas for that correction. And I want to say that when I read the Bible, even if it in a totally nefarious way, people took those teachings of Jesus and changed them for whether it was a political purpose or, and again, I'm not saying that did happen, but I'm just saying I accept anything as a possibility.
Where are we going this morning, Kaustubha?
I'm telling you right now, when I read the New Testament, what I feel is I feel a connection to what I read in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. I believe that there's a connection there. I believe that the same truth is being said there. And whether some of those details have been altered or not, I can't say. But I do feel a genuine connection there. And that's just my personal faith.
Can I read the Apostles' Creed now? Further, okay. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord. He was conceived by the power of the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary. He suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, died, and was buried. He descended to the dead. On the third day, he rose again and ascended into heaven, and is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again to judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of the saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen. I remember that being a little better than I just read it.
That sounds like the second edition that came out of the Council of Constantinople. That was like the second version.
The upgraded version. I don't know. Anyway, I believe that even if things get lost over time, if there's like sincere connection with your higher power, things get revealed through revelation.
All right.
And if you guard against these things, like the arrogance that comes with knowledge, or the arrogance that comes with my way is the only way, and if there's a humble attempt to approach divinity, no matter what source, there'll be some reciprocation. That's how I feel.
All right. Well, good Sunday morning to you.
Well, right? Well, it's a good Sunday morning. Yeah. I mean, I grew up, I went to church every Sunday.
Yeah,
I was tempted with donuts afterwards. That was the bait. That was the bait they used to get me to go to church, and
we
it
had the
worked well.
exact same thing. The
Donuts.
exact same thing. Yeah, donuts.
I'm a pretty simple man.
Give me a donut, I'll go to church.
Put a donut on with a fish hook, and I'll bite it.
Well, that's the same thing with prasadam, right? That's the way it works. As a matter of fact, one time I heard this story once that one of Prabhupada's disciples was in the room with him in Los Angeles, along with other disciples and a Christian pastor or priest of some sort. And the priest was saying to Prabhupada, he was saying, it's amazing how you got all these young people so interested in God and just giving their life. And how did you do that? How? And Prabhupada, just in a lighthearted, friendly way, Prabhupada said, well, I understand that in your church, you give out this one wafer, referring to the host.
Yeah.
Right? And he said, yes, that's correct. And earlier, you're going to like this, Raghunath. Earlier, they had passed out these gulab jamuns. This, right, for those of you who don't know, this incredibly delicious Indian sweet, which is kind of like a pancake ball floating in syrup or something like that, right?
A pancake ball floating in syrup. That's where we're going to find that.
Yeah. And so he said, so I understand you give out this waiver. He said, yes, try giving out these gulab jamuns, and everybody.
Imagine that. Everyone comes up to church, naming the body of Christ. Amen. And they put a gulab jamun in your mouth.
A little messier.
Every kid would be coming back. It's time for communion.
Could I go again?
Because the wafers weren't that good. The wafers were it was very peculiar, that wafer. It was sort of like, it was like no other food you've eaten. It was just sort of like melt.
It was had a minimalist flavor.
It was very minimalist. And sometimes they dip it in wine too.
Gotcha. But in any case, the donuts were there after for me too, and when I got a little bit older, like when I was 12 or 13, I could go to church by myself, but I had to kind of report, the test was, when I get home, my parents say, who was the priest, right? With father this or father that. And I'd have to say which one it was.
You go to church by yourself? That's pretty impressive.
Well, I would go to church, look in there, see who the priest was, and then go sit out and hang out on the steps with a friend or something like that. Then I'd go buy a donut.
There was something I was, my family did rosary every day before Easter for a month. Really? At the table. We would sit around and chant. My whole family would chant rosary together.
Like you chanted one round together?
Chanted one round of rosary. Of
Hail Mary or?
Well, on the rosary beads, you do the Our Father, and then you have
there's some
middle one where you do. Oh, no,
Mary.
It's all Hail Marys. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. But yeah, how you chant on the rosary. We did that every day after dinner. We'd go to church every weekend. I went to Sunday school.
Me too.
I liked it. I liked it. I was religious.
You're a good boy.
I was a good boy.
And now we can read about another good boy.
Narada was also a good boy.
He was a very good boy.
Okay.
And we started a new chapter.
I honestly think that when you have religious parents and they pray for you, I actually give a lot of my credit to my parents for my bhakti, for my interest in bhakti, for my Bhagavatam desire. A lot of times, even in the tendency is we're so damn arrogant with everything. And so a lot of times we think, well, I've been on a spiritual path. My spiritual path started when I was young, and I questioned this, and then I went to this ashram, and then I journeyed to India. But a lot of times we think, I started my spiritual path. But in the same way, we didn't start anything, that there's been people contributing to our life. A lot of times I think if we have parents or loved ones who've prayed for us, since ultimately there is only one God, even if my mother or father prayed for me in a Catholic church, I think that was sort of like kickstarting my spiritual path. I don't think it was a fail, like, oh man, he didn't become a Catholic.
It wasn't in vain.
No, it wasn't in vain. I think that we subsist also on very sincere people praying for us. And we have, in my illusion, I want to take all credit for everything material and even any type of spiritual insight I have. But in reality is we are made up of the mercy of other people's love.
Mercy cases.
We're mercy cases, yes. All right. Well, let's get into this. We are on
We start a new chapter today.
Yeah, yep, thank you.
Chapter 6.
We're on Narayanam. We got to do our invocations first.
Okay.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Did anybody see this meme yet? Grand Theft Butter.
Butter. I did see that. That was great.
Okay. All right. So let's dive in here.
Chapter 6, Canto 1, Chapter 6, text
all
number
right.
1.
Okay. Srila Vyasadeva said, Sutta Goswami said, O Brahmanas, thus hearing about Sri Narada's birth and activities, Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God, the son of Satyavati, inquired as follows. So Satyavati, she was the one who sort of like, this is where the whole Mahabharata came from. Satyavati was married to Shantanu, and her secret son was Vyasadeva. But before that, she was the fisherman's daughter, if you know the Mahabharata, who married Shantanu, the emperor. And then from that family line came the Pandavas, came grandfather Bhishma, etc. Okay, I don't know if that helped anything. Okay.
So Vyasadeva had heard just a little bit about his guru's life, and now he's like, oh, tell me more.
Okay. What did Narada do after the departure of the great sages who had instructed you in scientific transcendental knowledge before the beginning of your present birth?
What did you do?
I'm sorry. What did you do after the departure of the great sages? So the sages have left to it. Okay.
Yeah. So the sages had left, and now what happened after that? But
O son of Brahma, how did you pass your life after initiation? And how did you attain this body after having quit your old one in due course? O great sage, time annihilates everything in due course. So how is it that this subject matter, which happened prior to this day of Brahma, is still fresh in your memory undisturbed? So I guess this previous birth he had was not even in his last life. It was in a previous...
No. It was his last life, but even that last life was so long ago because the body's in now is eternal.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
And that's why that previous verse...
I thought I was having some deep revelation. Okay, sorry. Thanks for chopping that down. Katie Bell, for those who are new, we were on chapter 6, text 6.
But in text 3, he said, how did you get this body? Because it's like, you've got this body now that doesn't deteriorate. It doesn't grow old. How did you get this body?
And what does that mean? It doesn't grow old.
He's got a body that doesn't grow old. We're used to bodies that are made out of matter.
Okay, so he's got a spiritual body. That dude means, can I touch him?
Yes, you can touch him, but the effects of time do not, that body is not under the laws of time. It's a different substance.
Can I touch him?
Is that all you care about?
Well, I want to know. I can touch it, but it doesn't age.
You can touch him. Yeah.
Then shouldn't it be made of matter if I can touch it?
No. You see, the difference between matter and spirit is that one, spirit is conscious, and two, that spirit is eternal. But it doesn't. But there's no law about touching there.
Yeah. All right. I'm just going to accept that.
Spiritual form.
A little leap of faith, a form, an apparent material form, meaning it leaves footprints when it walks, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of this, man.
It can.
It leaves footprints when it walks. So it's not a ghostly body or an apparition.
That's right.
But it can walk through a wall.
Probably. It's
no, because Narada floats in, right?
He does. He can do all kind of stuff.
Okay.
He's free.
These are important questions,
He's
man.
free. No, I agree. They're important.
She wanted to look at what Sri Narada said. The great sages who had imparted scientific knowledge of transcendence to me departed for other places, and I had to pass my life in this way. So here are the people that inspired him, and then they just disappeared. He's a little boy.
Yeah.
I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple lady, but a maidservant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. So I guess she was a single mom. I guess there were single moms back then.
Yep.
She was a single mom. She loved her son. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master.
Mm.
When I was a mere child of 5, I lived in a Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands. Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent, influenced by supreme time. He's an orphan. This happens. Still happens in India. You go for a walk, you get bit by a snake.
It can happen.
My story about Hari Bhajan, that's how Hari Bhajan died. He went to the forest to go to the bathroom, and a snake bit him, and he died. What a way to go. But he's seeing the bigger picture. This was influenced by time.
I mean, we're seeing a couple bigger pictures here, right? Like earlier, he said that he mentioned this about being like a puppet in the hands of time.
I like, Kaustubha, how you're so philosophical, and I'm just into reptiles.
No, you brought it up. You said he saw it as time, But first we heard he said, where was it? What verse was it? That he said it's we were like a wooden puppet.
We're like a wooden puppet. That's text 7.
In other words, if he could have chosen not to have his mother die by a snake bite, he would. But what can he do, right?
Sure.
This is just intelligence. This is just reality, that we look at the world and say, hey, we can't control it. Even what little we can control is granted to us and could be withdrawn at any moment. So he's saying, in one sense, we're like that puppet. It's moving. We're being moved through this world, And then here he's talking about how his mother, he didn't say it was by the influence of the snake. He was saying it was by the influence of time, that there's with broader vision, we could see that all the changes in this world are happening by a force, that there's a force within the material realm. It doesn't operate in that spiritual realm. But within the material realm, there's a force of time that's moving everything. And one thing that it moved his mother away from him. And the snake is just incidental.
And that, and to see that as time, as almost divine destiny as well.
Yeah.
So here he is, an orphan child of 5.
But now see the effect that the sages had on him. Look how he deals with this.
Right.
This very frightening, change in life that happened.
And this is why knowledge is the ultimate welfare work you could do for somebody.
Nice
right? I give somebody $10 because they're hungry. It's nice. You feed them for a day. They say that statement, teach them how to grow food, you feed them for a lifetime. Feed them a meal, you feed them for a day. Give them knowledge, and you can give them direction for their entire life. So here he is. He was receiving knowledge, a very, very valuable thing. And in the greatest disaster for a child, losing their maintenance, a child losing his only parent, He's got some, right. He's got some direction in this life. It's the ultimate thing you can do for kids.
And now look at
your kids want a birthday present. Yeah, I'm going to give you knowledge. That's what you're getting for your birthday this morning. It's my son's birthday today. So
you're welcome.
Happy birthday. I'm giving you knowledge. Open that up.
Now look how he dealt with it. Look at the depth of his understanding. Text 10.
All right. 1 second. I took this as special mercy of the Lord, who always desires a benediction for his devotees. And so thinking, I started for the north. Who thinks like that? My mom just died, and I look at this as a blessing because the Lord is always benevolent to those devotees. I tell you,
please,
let me tell you this, Kaustubha.
Tell me.
I'm really struggling here because we've been homeschooling our kids for the last 2 years.
Okay.
And it's just, I love it. And I love the concept of it. And I don't have the bandwidth to do it though. And so they're doing, I mean, truthfully, it's a lot. Right, Tom?
I've done it.
Yeah. You did it?
Yeah.
Homeschooling's tough, but they're such good kids. And I'm really happy with the way they're turning out. And I've had such a bad public school experience. I wouldn't wish it upon anyone. But it's like, I'd rather my kids grow up dumb as stone with good character, you know?
Yeah.
Than all the tragic influence I had from junior high school.
Speak to what happened, Raghu. Tell me.
No, that's what I was just commiserating with my neighbors who were also, you know, they do like they went to school for survival skills and living in nature, and it's like a forest school where they live like from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. They're outside in the woods all day long, rain or shine, no matter what weather it is.
I thought that's what your kids were doing too.
My kids are doing that too, and the neighbors' kids do it too. And it's great, but
you call that homeschooling?
Well, we did.
All right.
We did. I mean, they can start fire from friction, but they can't do math very well. Anyway, now we're revisiting education, and it's like I'm super torn. That's my story. So here he is. Here he is, and he cares about his character, and look where his faith is at.
Please read the commentary on this, Raghu.
Confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as the special mercy of the Lord. Mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever. How nice. I'm going to read that again. Mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever. And by the grace of the Lord, the temperature of this material fever is gradually diminished. And spiritual health is obtained step by step. Mundane people misunderstand this.
So are we mundane in our understanding or not when the reversals happen in our life?
That's the question. I'm a little mundane.
Me too.
I just go, why me? It's not fair.
You know, there's this verse that from the Gita that I love so much.
I don't deserve this.
Ever
say that one? I don't deserve this.
Yeah, those kind of sentences, they're just taken out of the Bhakti-yogi's, you know, repertoire, right? I don't.
Yeah. They have no respect for me. I've done so much for them, right? Every time my brain goes to one of those statements, I know, Raghu, you're in Maya. I don't deserve this. What do we know? What do I know what I deserve? What do I know what I deserve? I deserve a swift kick in the butt. That's what I deserve. If not worse. You know, in this lifetime alone.
Sure.
I've done atrocities. In this lifetime alone, I've been obtuse, broken hearts, been a jerk. In this what to speak of a previous life? I have no idea who I was. Okay, sorry. Go on.
No. So there's this verse from the Gita that I love. I'm not going to put you on the hot seat. I'll put you on the hot seat.
Hot seat, man.
1858.
Yeah.
I'll give you the first two words.
Go.
But these are the first two words to another verse, so don't mix them up. Much chitta.
No, I'll mix it up with. I'm going to mix it up with the 10th chapter one.
It's not
go
the 10th
ahead.
chapter.
Go.
Much chitta sarva durgani.
Okay, I get it.
Mud prasadat tarisyasi. See if you can translate it.
I can almost translate it. My chitta durga means pain, right? Machitta durga.
Sarva durgani.
All pain.
Yeah, all pain. Much chitta.
Much chitta. My consciousness.
Consciousness of me.
Consciousness of me causes all pain. If you want to get rid of all pain, you just tell me.
You got to hear the second line.
People are just waiting patiently for my stupidity to go away.
Ready? Mat prasadat.
The mercy.
My mercy.
My mercy.
Mat prasadat tarisyasi.
Just tell me, please.
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. Right?
Ah, it's a very nice verse.
Yeah. And so, you know, Narada here, he's a boy, but he's conscious of Krishna. And so even though the obstacle is there, the verse doesn't say the obstacles won't come, but by his grace, you'll pass over them. And then, you know, Prabhupada, just like in his commentary here, you know, the fever is gradually diminished. The material fever and spiritual health is obtained step by step by the special mercy of the Lord. Mundane people misunderstand it. People without that knowledge misunderstand it. Why is this happening to me? But you know, and I think it says confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step, a benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be an odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as mat prasadat, special mercy of the Lord.
It's a great way. Hey, even if you don't even believe in any of this stuff. No, I like to set up the even if this whole thing is made up. What a great way to look at the world.
Yeah.
That everything is happening for my benefit.
Right. The world is not happening to me, it's happening for me, right?
Yeah, it's a better way to view reality. I mean, how happy are you if you're always blaming your circumstance, or the world is like the world is working against me? If I'm just living in blame, I'm sad. If I'm living in blame, I'm sad. That's a simple math. If I'm living like I'm actually, this is for my growth. This is for my well-being. I'm cared for. I am loved. This is for my maturity. This is to bring me somewhere else. Better way to look at the world.
Better way to look at the world.
It's a better lens.
Like it.
Better than blaming everybody for my pain. Okay. After my departure, I passed through many flourishing metropolises, towns, villages, animal farms, mines, agricultural lands, valleys, flower gardens, nursery gardens. Wonder what the difference is. And natural forests. Okay. Interesting here. Man's activity, this is a purport. Man's activities in agricultural, mining, farming, industries, gardening, etc. were all on the same scale as they are now. Well, I don't know if he means that, because mining's pretty bad right now.
I think he's saying people have always done these things.
You know what? That's the interesting thing. We tend to think, and this is a huge, most people will say, in the beginning of agriculture, according to the Vedas, agriculture always existed because civilized people always exist. That doesn't mean there weren't foragers, but there was always people who took care of animals and took care and planted crops. It's not a new thing. It didn't happen at a certain point in our evolution. The Vedic paradigm is people have been more evolved and we're devolving. Okay. After many hundreds of millions of years, one creation is. I missed something. Sorry. Men's activities of agricultural, mining, etc., were all on the same scale as they are now, even the previous to the present creation. And the same activities will remain as they are, even into the next creation. After many hundreds of millions of years, one creation is started by the laws of nature. and the history of the universe repeats itself practically in the same way. Interesting. The mundane wranglers, great word, waste time with archaeological excavations without searching into the vital necessities of life. After getting an impetus in spiritual life, Sri Narada, even though a mere child, did not waste time for a single moment with economic development. Although he passed towns and villages, mines and industries, he continually went on to the progressive and spiritual emancipation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the repetition of history which happened some hundreds of millions of years ago. As it is said herein, only the most important factors of history are picked up to be recorded in this transcendental literature. You know, it reminds me of this story how me and Paramananda met this older man, he was like 70 something in Scotland, and he asked, I told this story before, he asked if we were devotees because we saw some neck beads. And we said, yeah. And he told us how he used to know George Harrison and how he used to go to the temple in London with George Harrison. And he then said, like, George got really interested in bhakti, but and Swami Prabhupada used to tell them, you know, just give your life to a spiritual path, give your life to Krishna, you know, take it seriously. And he said, George did it, but I didn't do it. He just met us on the street randomly. And he said, George didn't do it. George did it, but I didn't do it. And then he just stopped and he said, and now I'm old. And I should have just listened to the Swami. And then he said something interesting. He said, what have I done in my life? I've just made some money. And then I've lost some money. And I've made some money. And I've lost some money. And now I'm an old man. I never gave my life to God.
Wow.
Imagine just walking down the street and meeting some guy who just like dumps that on you. And then we're just sort of like, it was sort of like, almost like a divine messenger came to say that to us. And so anyway, here is Narada. People are doing the same things millennium after millennia. We acquire some wealth, some skill, some good fortune. Then there's loss. Then there's bad fortune. Mm-hmm. Then there's some economic upheaval. But what have I actually done through all of that? Did I give anything over as like an offering to God? We're going to get those things. We're going to gain and lose.
Yeah. But what did I learn? Right.
Yeah. What I learned.
How did I transform?
But how did I transform in all that?
Yeah. Did I allow the messages that were speaking? Was I able to take them in and transform myself through them? Or did I just keep searching for happiness in this realm that's really there to teach me lessons, not to give me happiness?
All right. All right.
All right.
All right. I passed through the hills and the mountains full of reservoirs of various minerals like gold and silver and copper, and through tracts of land with reservoirs of water filled with beautiful lotus flowers, fit for the denizens of heaven, decorated with the bewildered bees and singing birds.
So he's seeing all that the world has to offer in one sense, right? All the earth has to offer. He's walking through it.
So he's just wandering alone as a child? Is that what's going on?
Apparently.
That's scary.
Yeah. Well, scary unless you have that faith. And I think the next verse, we should read this commentary too, because I think it gets into exactly what you're thinking.
Okay. I then passed alone through many forests of rushes. What's a rush?
The bush or something?
Rushes? Sure. Maybe it's bushes? Oh, rushes are reeds. Oh, hi.
Reeds.
Sachi and Bridger here. I went through many forests of rushes, bamboo, reeds, sharp grass, weeds, and caves, which were very difficult to go through alone. I visited deep, dark, and dangerously fearful forests, which were the play yards of snakes, owls, and jackals.
Okay.
Owls can be dangerous, by the way.
Can they? What do they do?
Well, they if you go near their babies, we just found this out. If you go near their babies, the mother owl will clench onto your skull and just puncture your skull
Yeah, that
with like
sounds
500
dangerous.
pounds of pressure. It's true. There's a lot more than any other animal deaths, owl deaths in the wilderness. We learned that in the Adirondacks last year.
Sounds worse than the snake.
Yeah, they find people just dead with holes in their skull.
Okay.
Just careful. Never chase female owls. Babies.
Noted.
Yeah. Okay, I just thought I'd share that. Anyway, so a child is going through the forest. I mean, kids, there's coyotes around here. You even got little kids. You got to watch out for coyotes. Coyotes are like, little kids are like rabbits.
Well,
toddler.
In the journey home, Raghunath Swami writes about when he first went up to the Himalayas and was living with the sadhus there.
Yeah.
And they kind of like, even some sadhus there, what was that name of that Baba that kind of grabbed him in the water?
Oh, yeah.
Kailash Baba.
Kailash Baba.
And even though they didn't speak the same language, Kailash Baba kind of trained him in how the sadhus live. And they're living in the forest, so all of these same owls are there, snakes are there.
Oh, I mean, when you get to the Himalayas, you're dealing with leopards, you're dealing with snowcats, you're dealing with every other operating system you can think of for the Mac computers.
But he kind of communicated to him, if I remember correctly, when you don't fear that animal, it's the practice of the sadhu to see God within the heart of every living creature. And that if you can see the creature and see God in the heart of that creature and not fear that creature, then they kind of like let you be.
It's a city. They say that that you can live with. One of the cities is living with dangerous animals.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe
it's not one of the major 8 cities. It's a minor city, but it is
sub-city.
A sub-city that you can live. It's a suburb. You can live with dangerous animals. And Raghunath Swami tells that story about living with scorpions and snakes. And then there's just a whole movie about the guy who lives with grizzly bears. Ever see that? But they eventually
kill him at the end.
And they do kill him. It's end sad. He must have had a little bit of fear in him, but it's quite fascinating. The city wore off.
Yeah, but that was part of the life, is that you would wander in that forest and learn to see God within the heart of every human, every plant, every animal. And the animals respond to you differently when you have that vision. Like we read earlier when Sukadev Goswami passes these ladies bathing, naked in the lake, and they don't even cover themselves up when he walks past. But when Vyasadeva comes, they cover themselves. They just responded in a different way based on the internal situation. And apparently the animals, if you don't fear them, they respond differently.
Yeah. I mean, if you sit in the forest, animals will come up to you.
Sniff.
And sniff you. They take a bite.
Decide whether or not to eat you.
I'll just eat them.
Okay, so anyway, please read the commentary here as well, Raghu.
Okay, there were also snakes, owls, and jackals. Okay. It is the duty of a mendicant. This word they use is parivrajacharya.
Yeah, so pari means to go around. Right?
Yeah.
Parivrajacharya.
So it means they travel around. They travel around. To experience all varieties of God's creation by traveling alone through all the forests, hills, towns, and villages, etc., to gain faith in God and strength of mind, as well as to enlighten the inhabitants with the message of God.
So the very act of that courageous act of wandering alone in the forest, it's a spiritual practice in itself.
That was my instruction from Raghunath Swami this year. He says you
alone in the forest?
Wandering alone and chant in the forest.
All right.
I find it's my best when I really are going through some material struggle or anything. I just walk in the forest. It's something about just being in the forest can really just...
I walk through the Ramble in Central Park regularly.
The Ramble?
The Ramble.
What's the Ramble? There's
2 Rambles in Central Park. They're like dense. They're kind of like dense. They're kind of like forests within Central Park. They're like thick wooded areas.
Oh, that's creepy, truthfully.
They used to be creepy. They're not creepy anymore. They
Yeah.
cleaned up the city.
They cleaned up the ramble. Okay.
They're not as, but to whatever experience, to whatever level, I think I'm searching for the same thing you're searching for.
Well, I think it's one of those things when we lived in a world that was just surrounded by nature, it's really easy. There's so many more access points to God.
Yeah.
And when we live in everything that's cemented over, all you see is creations by man.
Yeah. We lose touch.
Liam says, I was inspired to start playing bass from hiking the Appalachian Trail as well.
Really?
As a tween. Yeah, I did the Appalachian Trail too as a tween. That's one of my goals. I want to chant japa from Maine to Georgia, do the whole Appalachian Trail. Who's with me?
You got a few people out there.
Sachi raises.
Mallory's down. Liam's down.
All right, Liam.
Noah's down.
All right, let's do it.
You tell me how it went, okay?
There's no subway, Kaustubha. You can't the express train to Georgia downtown. Okay. As a sannyasi is duty bound to take all these risks without fear, and the most typical sannyasi of present age is Lord Chaitanya, who traveled in the same manner through the central Indian jungles, enlightening even tigers, bears, snakes, deer, elephants, and many other jungle animals.
What was the name of the jungle that he passed through?
Jharkhand.
The Jharkhand forest, yeah.
Yeah, they're still there, the Jharkhand forest.
Jharkhand, yeah, the place
Right?
is there. I don't know how, yeah.
I heard it's not that safe now either.
Is that in Bihar?
I think it's in Bihar.
Bihar's got a bad rap.
Bihar's got a bad rap. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Maybe a DTG, Jharkhand is in Bihar. Anyway,
Yes, Prabhuji, Jharkhand used to be in Bihar. It's a separate state now.
It's a separate state. Is it dangerous?
It does have a bad rep.
Bihar's got a bad rap.
Having like, yeah, my husband happens to be from that area.
Oh, your husband. Is your husband contributing to the bad rep, or is he trying to change the rep?
He's changed it in my eyes already.
Okay.
He's changed it totally, but I do. He comes from that area, and there are a lot of people who are not. Yeah.
Some gangsters.
Yeah, you got some gundas there. Well, here's the deal. It's hard to even understand this, but people walk places. If you want to go to New Jersey, you walk to New Jersey. You know, if you want to go to Brooklyn, you take a ferry. You take the Fulton Ferry, right? That's what the whole. You take the Fulton Ferry across. There's a boatman, and you cross the river, and then you're walking through places where there's particular dangerous animals. And when me and Kaustubha were young, there was this thing in the ashram that you had the opportunity to join called Padayatra. It means you walk on foot. It's quite fascinating, actually. I always was quite fascinated. You walk on foot around India to holy places, barefoot. You just travel village to village, and you don't carry your backpack. You put your backpack on an ox cart. There's an ox cart. You take an ox with you, and you just go chanting through the villages of India. And they went all over India, all the way, just in the same way pilgrims thousands of years. What a cool concept that was.
Remember those oxen, Raghu? The horns on those oxen?
Yeah, they were special.
Massive,
breed.
Incredible.
But it's a cool thing. You go up to the Badrinath, Gangotri. They go down to Rameshwar. It's a cool concept. You want to go, and interesting. And people who ride bicycles or even a motorcycle, you know, it's different if you go somewhere in your car. It's different than riding a bike to that same place. You start to notice different things. You start to notice, oh, look at that tree. Oh, I never even noticed that house. I drive by this house every day. I never noticed that. And there's something about doing it at your body's pace instead of like hyper speed. Our lives are like in hyper speed, and we miss out so much.
My wife tells me sometimes that it's an Ayurvedic principle that the body's not meant to move faster than an ox cart.
Well, it's a Jain thing. The Jains don't do that too.
Is it?
Yeah, the Jains don't travel in vehicles. Mm-hmm. And they don't eat root vegetables because they think it's killing.
There you go. Anyway, just walking itself, can be not only physically, physically it's so good for you. I walk at least 2 hours a day, pretty much every day.
I mean, I definitely, you do.
It's physically, it's very good for you. And spiritually, where you wander, it can also, particularly in nature, it can be very good for you.
We created a life where we don't walk.
We got to walk.
We got to walk. And so what we do is we buy a walking machine. We keep it in our basement. That can't be good for you. There's benefits of walking that you can't just like quantify by just moving your legs like this. It's the smelling, it's the breathing, it's the seeing that all becomes part of health instead of just moving my legs, watching CNN. That can't be good for you.
Yeah.
It's something. It's one fragmented concept of health. I move my legs.
We're pretty sad that we had to tell ourselves this.
Let me just
gotta
finish
move your
this.
legs sometimes. Let's finish this commentary because we run out of time. See?
Okay. One of the changes, so he's in this age of Kali, sannyasi is forbidden for ordinary men. One changes his dress to make propaganda in a different. To make propaganda is a different man from the original ideal of a sannyasi. One should, however, take the vow to stop social intercourse completely and devote life exclusively to the service of the Lord. This is the concept of retirement. It's like, okay, I've done it all. Now I'm going to get really focused. I'm getting ready to die. That's retirement. I'm getting ready to die. Now I want to really start to hone in on myself.
We could jump to the end here. The last sentence, it's a long one, but it's a good one.
Okay, you read it.
In this age, devotional service of hearing and repeating the holy glories of the Lord, like we're doing right now, is strongly recommended. And one who takes the vow of renunciation of family life need not imitate the Parivrajacharya like Narada and Lord Chaitanya, but may sit down at some holy place and devote his whole time and energy to hear and repeatedly chant the holy scriptures left by the great acharyas, like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. We got to talk about the 6 Goswamis sometime.
All right, that's going to come up. Hey, if you're listening to our podcast, welcome. We do this every morning. Thanks for joining us. Go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review. It helps our ranking. Give us a little message. Write us a little note. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's also fun. You can hit the subscribe and hit the bell. You'll get a reminder. And everyone joining us and joined late today, because it's Sunday, so people joined 10 minutes late. Welcome, and good to see you here. Bolo! Everybody joined late. Good morning, Das. Zeb, welcome back. Martine. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo. Prikshit, good to see you. Lauren Baptiste, good to see you. Damodar Priya Urugaya, good to see you.
Do we get to see Mara tomorrow?
Mara, what day is it? Sunday? Yeah. Mara's back tomorrow.
All right.
And then I'm leaving. Radhe. So Tuesday we're having a funky show time.
Tuesday we are.
Yeah,
I thought
not
Wednesday.
Not Wednesday.
Oh, you're switching it up. No, Wednesday as well, because you'll be out in California.
Yeah, it's going to be funky. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe.
Louis got some new moves. I like that.
Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai. I got to hang up, but I got to wait till he hits the high note. Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe.
Coming. Here it goes. Hit it, Raghu.
Radhe. Shri Radhe. Good morning, everybody. It's Rocco's birthday. Woo!
Happy birthday, Rocco.
All right.
Give him some knowledge.
I'm giving him knowledge for his birthday. He's going to love it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.